St. Lucian lawyers are spearheading groundbreaking legal efforts at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, to hold major polluters accountable for climate damage, marking a significant shift in how small island nations combat the climate crisis.
If you recall, the tobacco industry did not make the changes in labeling and in warning labels where tobacco and nicotine was concerned until they started having to pay through their pockets with the class action lawsuits. I believe we have to get to the point where there is significant jurisprudence on our side.
The December 2024 hearing at The Hague featured compelling arguments from St. Lucian legal experts, including attorney Kate Wilson, who presented evidence of climate damage to small island developing states.
So I believe the COP process as it is currently constituted needs to be reconfigured. It has to be recalibrated because you cannot tell me year after year developing countries go to conference of the parties and still end up with the short end of the stick, even while their countries are disappearing, their livelihoods are disappearing. So there has to be some sort of reconfiguration. There also has to be an increased focus, I believe, on litigation, as we saw in 2024 in December, when we had this case being taken up to The Hague by some very good lawyers from small island developing states. And I saw the submission from St. Lucia, and people like Jean-Yves Remy and Kate Wilson really did me proud by how they argued our case.
The legal strategy mirrors successful litigation against tobacco companies aiming to establish legal precedent for climate responsibility. Fletcher argues that this approach could force major industrial nations to address their climate obligations.
These countries, the countries that are polluting the atmosphere, the countries that are causing harm and destruction to small island developing states are legally responsible. They have a legal obligation to do something. And if they renege on that responsibility, then there is some penalty, a financial penalty, a steep financial penalty that attaches to it. Until that happens, until that signal starts coming out of the court system, they will continue to pollute the atmosphere with impunity. So that's why we have to pursue this on very many different fronts.
The case represents a strategic pivot for small island nations moving beyond traditional diplomatic channels to seek climate justice through international courts. Fletcher has been appointed CARICOM Climate Envoy with effect from January 1, 2025 last week. Joachim Du Plessis, HTS News Force.